Hi everyone, welcome to Active Self-Protection Extra. Today we're here at Ben Avery Shooting Facility in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. And I want to talk to you about the objective differences and the subjective differences when I shoot with my elbows locked out versus when I give them just a little bit of bend. Newbold Targets is now Throom. Throom targets are lightweight, weatherproof, take thousands of rounds of shooting and make shooting fun. Pick up a set for your next range trip. So we're diving in here just a little bit to kind of the shooting stance world, and I'm not a big fan of the shooting stance world. The reason for that is in defensive shootings, this doesn't come up much. People do stand and deliver a good bit, but I don't want to get tactical on you here. I just want to talk about the pure mechanics of shooting, all right? So this is being as fundamentally sound as we can and using as much anatomical advantage as we can. Here's the reality of things. A big guy, I weigh 230 pounds. I can get away with all kinds of stuff that is anatomically inferior because of my size, because of my grip strength. I've got about 115 pounds of grip strength in each hand. So I can get away with stuff that people who are smaller than me, who maybe have arthritis in their hands, or they've got elbows that hurt, they don't have as much backup mass, a little 90-pound woman or something like that, can't get away with. And so with that in mind, we want to have the best method that we can. So let's talk about the few reasons why I say a little bit of bend in your elbows is really what I'm talking about. And we'll talk about it with live fire. I'm going to talk about it using this blue gun at first because there's no sense in pointing a live gun all over the place. Okay, so if I get a hold of this gun and I grip it adequately and I drive that gun out there and I lock my elbows, and I see people do this a lot. They lock their elbows like this. I think somewhat when you're a new shooter because this thing's loud and makes a boom sound and recoils and all that stuff. And so I want to get it kind of as far away from me as I can. So what I see people do is they push that gun way out. A lot of times when they're a new shooter, it's while they lean back themselves. That gives us all kinds of anatomical inefficiencies because I'm strongest when I am standing with my posture upright. Now, by that, I don't mean standing ramrod at attention, but I mean when I am standing in a natural upright posture. Anybody who's done any martial arts, if I'm in a neutral posture like this, I'm way better than if I'm way down like this or if I'm kicked way back like this. So if I stand up in this posture and I drive my arms out and I lock my elbows, so you see the difference here when I locked my elbows out? What that does is a couple things. First thing it does is it pushes my shoulders forward and out of my shoulder sockets. So when I lock my elbows, watch what it does with my shoulders here is that it locks them forward, which then takes the muscle groups out of their natural alignment, makes them significantly weaker. Next thing that it does is that when my arms are all the way out, you can try this with a partner at home. I can't squeeze in on the gun. I can't press in on the gun at all. So if I do this to you and then I try to press in, I get very little pressure. And the way that you can do this is try this with a friend and have them put their hand in the middle and then stick your elbows all the way out and press in. Watch how easy they're able to pull that out. But if you just bend your elbows a little bit, you can generate a whole lot more force this way on the gun. That's a Scott Jedlinski thing, and you got to take his class to get his full discussion of that. So we'll illustrate it on John. So again, if you lock your elbows out all the way, and then I put my hand in the middle, and you clasp your hands around mine, okay? So now with your elbows locked out, what I want you to do is I want you to squeeze as hard as you can. Okay, now, same thing. I'm going to put my hand in here. Now I want you to bend your elbows just a little and squeeze. You see how much more force you're able to make? Yeah. That's a real significant thing, right? Yeah. So with just a little bit of bend in the elbows, you can generate a lot more force. Cool. Anatomy. Next thing that a little bit of elbow bend does, if I drive my elbows all the way out and they are straight, then what happens here with a straight elbow is when this gun recoils, it sends recoil back through the back strap into my hand, that travels through my arm into my body, ends up in the earth, right? It ends up having to go through me into the ground. That's the only place it can go because physics. All right. Yes, there's some air friction and all that stuff too, but all you physics guys can verify with me. So if that elbow is locked out, then I have a solid beam here basically that then the force is then going through my shoulders, down my body, into my feet and into the earth. So, and again, if I lock these out, I tend to push my shoulder forward, so then it's going to rock back into its spot in an area where it is difficult for that to do. Whereas if I bend my elbow just a little, now that elbow acts as a shock absorber. So it is part of the recoil mitigation process, whereas if it's locked out, it's not. So we're not talking about this. I'm not talking about doing this whole, goofy car thing or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just a little bit of bend in your elbows to do a couple things. things. If you notice, I try to pick my head up and press the gun forward, have a little bit of bend. Now, I don't bend my elbows out this way, and I'm gonna show you why. If I bend my elbows out, watch what it does to my pinkies. See how it pulls my hands, the bottom of my hands off the gun? And if you see it pull my hands off the bottom of the gun, this is where my best recoil control is. Go watch the video on recoil mitigation, and you'll see that I don't wanna pull these out this way. So rather than pull them up this way that pulls my pinkies off the gun, I actually do the opposite and press kind of down on the bottom of the gun. So I'm pressing downwards on the gun, and that bends my elbows just a little. That also actually engages my lats and my pecs and makes me pick my head up a little bit. So just a little bit of elbow bend makes a big difference. Let's go on the range and I'll show you what it looks like under recoil. So what you're gonna watch here is I really want you to watch what the gun does and what my body does, right? So how it kind of works to me. So I'm not really shooting on a timer here. I'm just gonna shoot at one of the 4-inch circles. So I'm driving the gun out here. It's actually hard for me to do. And I'm gonna lock my elbows out. And if you watch, you can see how much that does to me. Now, again, I'm a big dude and I have a lot of grip strength. So it's not moving me a ton. It's a 9mm, for gracious sakes. It's not that much force. But if I instead just give myself just a little bit of bend, one of the things that I notice for sure is that my dot comes back into the window much faster. So when I'm all locked out here, what happens is that when I lock out, the dot goes away and then comes back. When I give a little bit of bend here, the dot never goes away. It stays with me the whole time. So the gun recoils and recovers much faster and much more predictably. Only way you're gonna find that out is by hitting the range yourself. You can kind of watch me do it or whatever. I've finished that magazine. But again, just an idea of I'm not going crazy with this. I'm not doing this because I couldn't even see my sights from here, quite frankly. So a little bit of bend in your elbows. Now, you know who really knows this and does this well? Older people. You know why? Because when they shoot with their elbows locked out, it hurts. Because they have arthritis in their elbows, because their elbows are older, and they go, man, it hurts when I put force through them like that. Great reason to just, again, rather than push out and here, and again, when I do that, the gun really rises. Instead, I just give myself a little bit, and I'm able to run the gun much more quickly. Hope it helps you.